Hello, church family. Joshua here. I'm going to ask you to turn to 2 Chronicles chapter 31 today. 2 Chronicles chapter 31. And as you're going there, I just want to take this opportunity to say that if you're not worshiping with us, I miss you. We all miss you. I'm ready for us to be back to normal. I'm ready for us to be back with each other. 2 Chronicles chapter 31. We're going to be looking at verses 20 and 21. But before we get there, we have to realize what we're going into, what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about Hezekiah. Hezekiah in chapter 29, he enters into his reign in Judea. Now Hezekiah was 25 years old when he became the leader of Judea. And in chapter 29, he cleanses the temple, and he brings back worship, proper worship to God. Chapter 30, he brings back the Passover feast. And then chapter 31, he brings back the priests and organizes them and gives them their jobs and what they're supposed to do. And that brings us to 2 Chronicles chapter 31, verses 20 through 21. And it reads, "Thus Hezekiah did throughout all Judah, and he did what was good and right and faithful before the Lord his God. And every work that he undertook in the service of the house of God, and in accordance with the law and the commandments, seeking his God, he did with all his heart, and he prospered." At this point, the people of Judah, God's people, had entered into a relationship with God where they weren't his people anymore, in the sense that they were worshiping other gods and they weren't being faithful to Jehovah God. So Hezekiah brings back the word that I like to use is revival. He brought that back to the people of Judah, and he brought those people back to God in a right relationship with God, to where they were on fire for God. Now I want you to keep that thought, that thought of revival, the thought of coming back to God, the thought of being on fire for God. And go with me to John chapter 15. John chapter 15, verses 1 and 2. "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser." Listen to this. "Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does not bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit." So, my whole life in this passage, I thought that God pruned back the bad stuff. He got rid of the bad stuff by pruning it, and then he left the good stuff. But here we read, listen carefully, "Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away." So the bad stuff, he just takes away completely. "And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes." So he takes away the bad, cuts it out completely, and then he prunes the good branches, or the good vines, that it may bear more fruit. Fried-Hardman University, in 1990, Milton Sewell became the president. He was the president from 1990 all the way up into 2008. So almost 20 years. And in that time, Milton Sewell did one really big thing for Fried-Hardman. He took them out of the red financially. Fried-Hardman was losing money every year. They just weren't in the best shape financially. And Milton Sewell came in, and he brought money and new buildings and different things like that financially, so that Fried-Hardman could flourish and do well in that way. After him, Joe Wiley was the president from 2008 to 2017. You didn't see Joe Wiley much around campus, but Joe Wiley did things for the university academically that no other president had done. Also, there was a time where Joe Wiley cleared house at Freed-Hardeman University. There were a lot of people with unnecessary jobs and unnecessary roles that were let go of. And I'm sure it wasn't an easy thing for Joe Wiley to do, but it's something that needed to be done. And then in 2017, David Shannon came in. And since David has come in, enrollment has never been higher. Donations have never been higher. Socially and with churches, Freed-Hardeman has a great reputation, and it's doing better now than it ever has. I remember when David Shannon came in, and people were like, wow, look at all the things that David is doing, you know? Why wouldn't we have, I don't know why we didn't bring him sooner to do all these things. And I think about David Shannon and what he has been able to do in bringing all these kids in to be enrolled and to receive a Christian education. David Shannon would not have been able to do what he is doing if it wasn't for Milton Sewell or for Joe Wiley. And the fact that the things that they did prepared, and David Shannon didn't even know it, but they prepared David Shannon to come in and to be the face of Freed-Hardeman and to do the things that he's doing. Joe Wiley wasn't a glamorous president. He didn't go around to churches and to schools and different places recruiting like David Shannon did, but he had to do a lot of hard things. Like he had to let a lot of people go. And he had to do a lot of things academically for the university. And my point is, the times when Joe Wiley was there, some people would say, well, he's not bringing in the students like David Shannon did. No, but he prepared the way for David Shannon to come in and do what he is doing right now. And no one even knew it. I've been thinking about the church, specifically Leoma. And I've been thinking about the situation that we're in right now. And I've been asking the question, what is God pruning us, or what is God preparing us for right now? And just like in Hezekiah's time, I think God is preparing us for one of the biggest revivals that the church has ever seen. We've been away from each other now for 9 months. People in general have been away from each other for almost a year. And when we get to the point to where we learn how to deal with living with this virus, or it goes away, or anything of that nature, when we come back to a normal state, a normal schedule where we can be around each other, I do believe that we'll see a big revival in the church. Now, that's only going to happen if we're prepared for it. So, my question for us today, and the thought that I want to leave you with today is, are you, am I, are we as a whole preparing for what is about to come? Because if we're not prepared, we're going to miss it. It's going to go right past us, and we're not even going to be a part of this revival that is going to happen within the Lord's church. And I have three challenges for us today in preparing for what is about to come, or for what I think is about to come to the Lord's church. My first challenge is, have you been asking God, have I been asking God for us to be prepared, for us to be ready? My second challenge is, have we been sharpening our skills with this to be able to go out into the world and to bring people to Jesus? Because if we don't know what we're doing with this, then we're not going to effectively bring people to Jesus. And my third challenge, or my third thought for us today is, are we planting the seeds right now and watering the seeds right now that will flourish when the time comes of this revival? I think of people that I know that are lost. I think of some family members right now of mine that are lost. And now is the time to be planting those small seeds, to be watering those plants, to be forming that relationship with those people, to be bringing up God in conversations with those people, in preparation for the revival that's about to happen. Because right now, we can't invite them to events because there's no events. We can't give them the experience of the church right now. But what we can do is get them ready for that experience, and get them ready for the experience of what it's like to be a child of God. So, are we, as the Leoma Church of Christ, getting ready for this revival, for this big thing that I think that's about to happen in the Lord's church? If we're not, we need to be, especially as individuals. If we're not getting ready, we need to be. And it's my prayer that we all are. I do miss you, and we all miss you, and we all love you. And I look forward to seeing you all again. I hope you have a great day.